Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. Today we are talking about one of the worst reader feelings, and that is when you hear about this book, you get so excited for it, you add it to your TBR, maybe you put a hold on it on Libby, and you find out that there is a 25-week wait for that book. Today I've got you though, because I am sharing books that I rated 5 stars that are currently available on Kindle Unlimited. So some disclaimers, these are thrillers, and I think more so than any other genre, thrillers are so subjective. So just because I rated them 5 stars does not mean you would. But I think you stand a chance at really enjoying them. I stand behind all of these recommendations, and I'm not the stingiest 5-star rater, but I don't give a ton. I would say if I read 140 books a year, probably 25 of those would be 5-star books. So I am not the most generous 5-star giver, but I'm also not the most restrictive. So I also tend to give 5 stars on enjoyment factor. These are ratings based on how the books made me feel. All of these books that I have sitting next to me are thrillers that I think are well written and made me feel something, that are currently available on Kindle Unlimited. So let's go. I also don't know how Kindle Unlimited works. I'm not a member. I've had it a couple of times, but I'm so lucky I get so many books sent to me that I don't really need it. I also frequent my library so much, and I have several library cards. So anyway, I don't do Kindle Unlimited, but I know a lot of people do. My friends in real life are often asking me to share Kindle Unlimited recommendations, so this is sort of like a compilation for them as well. But let's get into the books. First up is Goodnight, Beautiful by Aimee, Molloy, and I loved this one. I love a good book with a psychologist as a protagonist if it's well done, and I think this one is well done. It's about Sam and Annie who relocate to a sleepy town in upstate New York to renovate this Victorian home, and I think Sam's mom is ailing, and so they want to move to be closer to her. He is a therapist, and so they get this home, and his home office is in the bottom level of this house. But in the top level, Annie can actually hear his sessions if she's like listening into one of the vents. So of course, being nosy as she is, she listens into some of his sessions and sees these clients. And then one day this client has a very interesting story, and she sort of becomes obsessed with figuring out who it is. I adored this one. I think it's really smart. It does heavily borrow from one of Stephen King's most popular books, which I won't say which, but I think it was done intentionally because they do throughout the novel mention that book, and so you sort of understand that it was tongue-in-cheek. I also think the audio for this one is absolutely insane. So it's available on Kindle Unlimited. Their audio is not there, but if you can get the audio, I want you to just listen to this woman's voice, or this person's voice that does the narration for one of the characters. I don't know if I could drop a clip in here. I'll try. But anyway, it is the wildest voice I've ever heard for a person, and eventually it does sort of make sense, but not really. But anyway, I really like this novel. Next is one I cannot believe is on KU, and that is The Pact by Sharon Bolton. This one is definitely 5 stars. This one is a British novel about 6 talented friends who are looking forward to the brightest of futures until a daredevil game goes horribly wrong and a woman and her 2 children are killed. And so they sort of decide as a friend group that one of them is going to take the fall. So Megan decides she's going to take the fall for this, and she leaves the others free to get on with their lives. But she only agrees to do this in exchange for a favor payable on her release from prison. And now when the book takes place, it is 20 years later, and she is ready to collect. Megan has had a lot of time to become diabolical. There are so many gasp-worthy moments in this one. I could not put it down. It's such a page turner, and I absolutely love this novel. Next, I'm recommending all of S.A. Cosby's novels. I actually can't believe that these are on Kindle Unlimited. These are such good deals. So he actually has 4 novels. I have not read his debut, but I have read these 3. He's also got a new one coming out in June that I cannot wait for, but I recommend all of these 3. This one is about Bug, who is a great protagonist. He's a mechanic, a loving husband, and a hardworking dad. He used to be a getaway driver though, and he sort of has left that life behind until he gets brought back into this world because he needs a favor, because his new life is beginning to crumble. This one, if you don't care about cars, still read it. I didn't care either, and I loved this. Secondly though, this is an all-time favorite book, God tier book. It's Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I can't say enough. I'm absolutely obsessed with this book. I think about it often. It's about these two men whose sons were married and their sons were killed in a hate crime. And both men are ex-cons and they decide to get revenge on their son's death. Now, this one is brutal. It's very, very violent, but also it's a revenge story that very much has good motivation behind it, which are my favorite kind of revenge stories. Read this one if you haven't already. Then finally, it's his most recent, All the Sinners Bleed, and this one I loved as well. This one is about a black sheriff, a serial killer in a small town ready to combust. This one has a lot, as you can see, I tabbed a whole bunch of it, but this has a lot of racial tension. There's also a killer. It is, again, all of his books are pretty brutal, but they're also very thought-provoking. This one is like a powder keg and you're just waiting for it to explode. He's also really good at creating characters. All of his characters are people that I feel are unforgettable, and I don't know, 5 stars, like I said. Next is another author I love. It's Alice Feeney, and this is Sometimes I Lie. This is her debut, and it's actually my favorite one. This is a book with an unreliable narrator, and a woman gets into some sort of accident, and she cannot, I'm like going from memory here. She gets into some sort of accident, and she cannot remember who she is, but you should know 3 things about her. She's in a coma, her husband doesn't love her anymore, and sometimes she lies. I read this back when it came out, and Alice Feeney quickly became an auto-read author for me. Now, I have not loved all of her novels, but this so far is my favorite, which is impressive considering this is her debut. If you like these books that are really, truly psychological thrillers that play with your mind, I think this is a great one. My next recommendation is also a Alice Feeney book. This one is His and Hers, and this one is another one you should try and get on audio if you can. And I say get this one audio because it has an incredible villain and you get to hear their point of view, and it's narrated really, really well. This is about a woman who was murdered in this small British village. A news reader, Anna Andrews, is reluctant to cover the case. Detective Jack Harper is suspicious of her involvement until he becomes a suspect in his own murder investigation. Someone is not telling the truth, but you don't know who. For this one, the ending is what stood out for me. In no way could I have seen this coming, and I thought it was really, really well done. Next is Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. This is up there with the most disturbing books I've ever read. So really, really, really take care and think about if you want to read it. These are the things that I tabbed, not because I want to go back and like revisit this book anytime soon, just because it is so unbearably shocking. Although it was done in a really thoughtful way. I don't want to talk to you too much about what it's about, but it is definitely about a disturbed mother-son relationship, and it's about Noah, and he has a mental illness. And I won't tell you what it is. You've got to look up the synopsis. I don't want to say it on YouTube because I don't know if I'm allowed, but it is a book that truly broke me in ways that I can't describe. I cried when I read this. I don't know what you would do as a mother if this was your son and if he was interested in the things that this person is interested in. I don't know what choices you would make as a parent if your child told you what they wanted to do and if you had to make this decision. I'm being so cagey with this, but I don't know. This is dark. And again, Lucinda Berry is a psychologist, so she really knows how to delve into really the depths of people's psyches. That one's crazy. This one's a little bit lighter. It's called The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark, and this one is a book about a con woman, and I love this. It is a woman who sort of has spent her life conning people. She erases herself to become whoever people need her to be, but then Kat Roberts has been waiting 10 years for this woman to return to her life, and now that she has, she's determined to be the one to expose her. And it's sort of this domestic thriller that really goes back and forth and dives deep into the psyches of these two women. And I enjoyed this very much. It surprised me. I think I thought I was getting one thing, but I ended up getting another. And that is a compliment. I also want to quickly recommend the book, The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I got to meet her in person and she signed my ARC. The Last Flight is incredible. It's about women who meet in an airport and they sort of decide to switch planes for reasons. And one of the planes goes down and it totally messes up one's life. And the other one, it might be dead. We don't know. Anyway, it's incredible. You should read both of these. Little Secrets, Jennifer Hillier. Holy cow. This one begins with every parent's nightmare. A woman loses her child in a crowded store and they're gone. And Marin is sort of this, I think she's like a planner or some sort of woman that's very much put together and married to her college sweetheart. She owns hair salon companies, that's right. And her son is taken. And she becomes a shell of herself. A year later, she and her husband are barely speaking, but she never lost hope of finding her son. But then her husband starts hanging around with this woman who works at a coffee shop, and the Marin becomes obsessed with her. And I'll leave it there. This one is so intriguing. I loved it. I've read several Jennifer Hillier since then, and she does no wrong in my book, but this one was up there with my favorites. Last but not least, we've got What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. And I hate to say this, don't tag her, but this is my favorite Kate Alice Marshall, and I DNF'd her other 2 books because I did not like them. But this is her debut. This is a story of friendship, secrets, betrayals, and lies. It's about 3 women who were 11 when they sent a killer to prison. They were heroes, but they were lying. And now it is 22 years later, and these women are sort of having everything come out. One of them was stabbed when they were 11, and then the other 2 basically were her witnesses, but they put away the serial killer, but they lied. And now the friends have kept the secret forever, but Olivia wants to tell the whole story, and then Olivia goes missing. And what really happened in the woods? You don't know until you read this book, and I loved it. 5 stars. If you were ever like a creepy little girl too that like liked to pretend you were witches, they have this really interesting friendship when they were younger, and I loved that element. If you don't have KU, I could totally appreciate that. Obviously, these recommendations still stand regardless of where you get them. Also, something that I noticed, if your library has what's called Hoopla, you might want to check there for some of these recommendations. Those are always available. Not all libraries have them, but mine does, and you can check them out at any time. And a lot of time, the books that are on Kindle Unlimited are also on Hoopla. So fun little fact for you there. But that is it for me today. Just a quick little video. You seem to like the last one that I did when I was telling you about under the radar thrillers. So I will continue on with more of these short form videos. But in the comments, leave me your favorite KU book. Leave me a thriller recommendation. You know I'm on my quest to find thrillers that I am going to rate 5 stars. I think this year so far I only have 2 thrillers that I found that are going to be on my favorite of the year list. So I'm definitely interested in more. But don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.